So recently I've been spending some time playing around with various different tunings from open C, open D, open G, especially with my baritone guitar, to drop D tuning. And if you saw yesterday's video where I talked about this guitar here, which has the hip shot bridge that allows me to go into drop D just by pulling this lever, then you'll know that I've been, that's something I've been really interested in. But today I thought I'd grab, probably what is my number one guitar. This is my Ron Thorn Masterbuilt Strat. It's a 58 style. And this sound today that I want to talk about, and the idea of drop D tuning and how you can sort of incorporate that into more blues. I think drop D is often thought of as a more like heavier sound, heavy metal, heavy rock, whatever you want to call it. For me, I think it works really well with that sort of Hendrix style Delta blues sound, from tracks like Voodoo Child, the slower blues Voodoo Child, where he's dropped two semitones, or dropped a whole step, but I'm not dropping a whole step, just the low string is dropped a whole step. So let's talk a bit about drop D tuning, and then I'll talk about how I've got this tone today, which for me is possibly my favorite tone. It's my Desert Island rig. We'll talk about that in a little while. First, a bit of me playing around with drop D a bit more, and then I'm going to talk you through a few little things I noticed about playing with that tuning. To me, open D tuning is really fantastic for a couple of reasons. The first one is it's really easy to get your mind around it. It doesn't take you more than a couple of minutes just to get your head around the fact that you've changed, 2 frets on the low string. And the fact that with a lot of guitars, especially Strats, I find they just sound amazing. And the other main thing that's going to make this really cool for playing that riffing style, but that sounds in that Hendrixy vein, is the open strings. The D minor pentatonic has normally got 3 open strings, so the A, D, and the G. But in this case, you've also got the low D. So it gives you lots of scope to play around with that and to riff. And then lastly, if you're going to try and play some slide with this, again, the way that D works on it just makes it feel, you know, something really easy and comfortable to do because of those open strings. So you'll see, you know, it's not going to take you more than 20 minutes to get your mind around it, to start using those open strings, to start coming up with some cool riffs, and to be able to go from your 3rd to 5th fret area, so the sort of 3rd position of this, up to... In my opinion, it just sounds fantastic, and you can just get right into it as soon as you've dropped that low string. Into how I've come up with this tone today, this sound that I'm using, and it's a little bit of a complicated one. So I'm going to do some of it now, and then in the next video on this channel is going to be the sort of ins and outs of how I'm using IRs and everything. But let's go through this quickly. For the last few years, I've been pretty adamant about recording everything directly using microphones. I tended to use an SM57 and a ribbon mic and a room mic. As you can see, I've got mics around the place. But there's a couple of reasons why things have changed. I mentioned in a recent video that after this last couple of years of playing very loudly, my wife asked me if I wouldn't mind doing some quieter stuff, or you know, maybe half the time. She works at home a lot these days, so that was not an unreasonable request, and also it's going to save my ears a lot. I was starting to get headaches and earaches. So I've got this power station which I've been using as an attenuator, but it's also got a direct out line. It's got a balanced XLR out and an unbalanced out as well. So that's really fortunate. I didn't have to go and buy an aux box, which I used to have one and sold. And I had to get into the world of IRs. So in the next video, as I said, I'm going to talk you through exactly what I'm doing with that. But basically I use Logic Pro, and in that I've got a plugin, and as I said, I'll go into the details of that and some comparisons with real miking. But in terms of the sort of more traditional signal chain, got this awesome 633 engineering amp. This is the Kirk Fletcher amp, which was originally made for Kirk Fletcher. Not this particular one. I had Cliff build this from scratch. And as I said, next week I'll be doing an in-depth video on this amp. So it's just a 50s tweed style Pro, no reverb in there. So the reverb is coming from this pedal mainly. This is the spring reverb, the Topanga by Catalan Bread, which also just has a really good sound to it in itself. Before that, I've got the Janray by Vemuram. The volume's not up very high. There's a bit of gain going on. And then it goes into, after the Topanga, it goes into the Analog Man dual analog delay. On this top setting, you can see the settings are very minimal, barely a delay at all, but it just adds a bit of thickness. And I'm using what is really the guitar that I've settled on as the one I pick up the most, and that's my Masterbuilt Ron Thorn 58. Just does the thing for me more than any of my other guitars, except my baritone, which is over here. It's a bit dark over here, but basically I don't use the baritone on the channel all the time because it's not as relevant to a lot of people. And then the question I'm getting a lot at the moment on through Instagram DMs and even in comments here is, what slide do I use? And this slide, I finally, after trying some more traditional ones, came across is the Rock Slide Aerial Posen. It's for your little finger really, and it's for that more hybrid style of slide playing rather than full-on slide playing. I think just works great for that. So there's the signal chain, and if you're interested in knowing how I use IRs, how it compares to real miking, and how I'm getting the full-on big room sound I'm getting at the moment, join me for the next video and I'll go through all the details on that. But I hope you enjoyed this one, and it might have helped you get into Drop D. It wasn't a very detailed video, but really it's just a taster to get you into that. If you think you want more, let me know in the comments. And lastly, you can join my giveaway, which is for this Protein Pedal, subscribe to the channel and comment, and you will be in for a chance wherever you live, whether it's New Zealand or Canada or Chile or anywhere, anywhere in the world. I'll send it. All right, guys, I'll see you on the next one. Cheers.